the words "you can't," make that your steak. If steak is your favorite food, make that your steak. I love Krispy Kreme donuts. I love them too much. I have turned "you can't" into Krispy Kreme donuts. When someone says "you can't," I take that in, I chew that up and swallow it, and it's delicious. And I say, you just wait a few minutes, or maybe a few hours, wait a few months, wait a couple years, and then come talking to me about "you can't." Hello, Facebook folks and YouTube folks, if you're checking out the video on the rebroadcast. In this video, I want to give you an idea of the timeline that happened for me from middle school to high school, where I started really learning about music. This was a period in my life where a lot of people told me "you can't." And if you're a freelance musician like I am, I know that you've heard lots of "you can't." And so hopefully this will be something that can be a little bit motivating to you. And also it'll show you kind of the steps that I took to start learning about music. If we haven't met before, my name is Paul Gavin. I've been making my entire living as a freelance musician for 3 years, 2 months, and 13 days at this moment. I'm on my way to a gig to play with Gloria West and the Gents at Zydeco Brewworks in downtown Tampa at 7 o'clock till 11. So if you want to come check out the gig, I would love to see you there. Okay, so before 6th grade, my mom took me to a summer camp, an exploratory arts camp, where I learned different parts of the arts, different kinds of arts. I explored dance, I explored visual art, I explored painting, I explored a lot of cool stuff, but this is where I learned about music kind of for the first time. I was in music in elementary school, but it didn't grab me. It didn't grab me at that moment. So in this exploratory camp, I did a lot of things, but I became attached to, you won't believe this, the oboe. The oboe was the first instrument that I played. In this exploratory camp, we checked out a lot of different instruments, and I was one of the only people that was able to make a good sound on the oboe. And so the oboe instructor said, hey, you should check this out. So I ended up checking it out. We hit 6th grade, and I'm playing oboe in beginning band, and I'm loving every moment of it. But I'm noticing these percussionists in the back, they're not really killing it. They're not nailing it. And I started looking back there more and more during class thinking, well, I think I can do as good as they are. So in 7th grade, I'm playing oboe in middle school band, but I'm also playing percussion in the beginning band. So that was a new experience for me. It was the first time picking up sticks. I had regular drumsticks, and I remember I colored them blue with Sharpie so that my sticks could be cool. But anyway, that experience was really good for me, picking up percussion, learning about the xylophone, learning about the timpani, learning about the snare drum, the concert bass drum, all that stuff. And so at that point, I discovered that I love music. Music is really fun. It's enjoyable. And so what I started doing is anytime we were supposed to be reading in class, we were supposed to be reading the novel or reading something for the class, I would always ask the teacher, hey, can I go practice? I would always do that. And I would do that because music started meaning something to me. I found a place where I fit in that brought me a lot of joy, and so I always wanted to be doing music as much as I could. So I would always try to get out of class to practice. 8th grade comes along, and I'm doing really well on oboe and on percussion, and so I'm actually kind of playing, if I remember correctly, I played a little bit of oboe and a little bit of percussion in the top middle school band. So that's middle school in a nutshell. Also, I got fascinated by how music works. So I remember I downloaded a notation software called Noteworthy Composer. And I would use Noteworthy Composer to write in like the pieces that we were playing in band. So there was one piece, the Here We Go March, that we played. Ba da da ba 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 da ba ba ba. I transcribed that whole entire thing and put it in the Noteworthy Composer from my ear. At the time, I didn't know I was doing. I didn't know that I was transcribing. I didn't know what transcribing was. I just knew that music was really cool and I wanted to be doing that. So I was always fascinated by different parts of music, and that's just what I wanted to be a part of my life. Okay, so we go to middle school. End of 8th grade, I auditioned for the drumline at Cypress Lake High School Center for the Arts. I auditioned for the drumline, and I made the snare drum freshman year. It was awesome. I felt great. I wanted tenors really bad, but I got snare, and I decided I would roll with that. I enjoyed marching band a lot. It was kind of my first time learning how to do drumline stuff and holding the big sticks and playing in front of a whole lot of people. I really enjoyed that experience a lot. See, this traffic right here is why I knew that the live video would go fine. While I was doing the drumline thing, I was also playing oboe in the concert band. So at the same time, I was rocking the oboe, rocking the drumline, and doing a little bit of percussion. And I always enjoyed all of those things. All of those things were fun to me. I enjoyed playing oboe. I enjoyed playing percussion. As high school went along, freshman year, I started to feel differently about the oboe, and I will tell you why. The reason I started to feel differently about the oboe is because life began getting serious. It started to become important to the people around me to start giving me advice about my future. And they would tell me, you should really stick to that oboe because that's going to get you a scholarship in college. You should really stick to that oboe because you've got a future in that if you stick to it. And the more they did it, the more I appreciated the concern, but I would get a little frustrated. Hey, why are you telling me how to live my life? I got this. So I would get regularly frustrated. I also would want more and more opportunities in percussion. But the teacher that I had my freshman year in high school generally did not want to give me those opportunities. So I became more and more frustrated. At this time, I was taking oboe lessons and I was not yet taking percussion lessons. Sophomore year hits, I make tenors on the drumline. Yes! Everything is the way I want it to be. If I remember correctly, I also start doing the youth orchestra and playing in the orchestra at the school, as well as doing marching band. So I'm starting to do more and more music stuff. I'm bringing more music stuff into my life because it brings me fulfillment, it brings me joy, and I'm curious about it. I want to learn more things about music. How does this thing work? How does this thing work? All of this time, I'm still transcribing things that I hear. I'm practicing my snare drum a lot at home, and I'm practicing oboe a lot at home. Junior year hits and I become the drum captain, the percussion captain for the marching band. And I'm now sick of playing the oboe. I've been hearing for all of this time, hey, you should stick to the oboe, it's gonna make you money. Hey, you should stick to the oboe because it'll get you scholarships. And I'm thinking, I like playing the oboe, but I really like playing those drums, man. The drums are really what make me joy. How come you're not encouraging me to do the thing that brings me joy and makes me joyful? So I started to grow resentful to the oboe, to the dismay of my mother, because my mother really wanted me to play the oboe because she was hearing those same things. She was hearing, if you stick to the oboe, they'll give you a scholarship for college. But what I had realized is I don't want a scholarship for something that I have no interest in doing in my future. But my mom's so concerned about my future and trying to make decisions that would lead to me being provided for in my college situation, she was very interested in me being focused on that oboe. So I got a little rebellious about the oboe. This is the only moment in my life where I've ever been rebellious, this is with the oboe. My mom really wanted me to play and I really didn't want to play, and I stopped practicing. And we had some conversations where I was not polite and respectful to my mother. I hope she'll forgive me for that. But because of that, eventually I stopped playing the oboe, and at this time I also picked up playing the drum set. I started playing drum set in the jazz band at Cypress Lake High School Center for the Arts in Fort Myers, Florida. And man, when they hit me with jazz, things changed. I started checking out Dizzy Gillespie. I started checking out, not Glenn Miller, sorry, clarinet, Benny Goodman. I started checking out all that good stuff. I started checking out drummers. I found out about Philly Joe Jones. Oh man, Philly Joe Jones. I found out about Max Roach. And things changed. I found out that jazz was amazing and jazz spoke to my soul. So right as I'm trying to get rid of this oboe, this thing that I no longer care about, have a connection with out of my life, I discovered jazz and everything changed at that point. I started pursuing jazz and trying to do more with that. But at the same time, I was also participating in the youth orchestra and the orchestra at the school. I also started beatboxing for the a cappella group. I bet y'all didn't know that I could beatbox, but I got a little bit of that. I got a little bit of that. So there was so much musical curiosity in me that I wanted to do it all the time. Junior year is also when I discovered Sibelius, a notation software that I still use to this day. I wanted to learn how to write drumline music, just out of curiosity. It had nothing to do with I want a career in this, I want to find different ways to make an income, nothing like that. It was just out of curiosity. I found this website called vgmusic.com, which made MIDI files of video game music. And so I started arranging marching percussion parts to songs from Final Fantasy X, songs from The Legend of Zelda, songs from Star Fox 64, yes, songs from Mario 64. I would arrange percussion parts to that stuff. I would put the MIDI file from vgmusic.com, I don't know if it still exists or not. I would put the music from the MIDI file from that into Sibelius, and then I would write a percussion part to it. And I would really work hard to try to figure that out. In fact, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching this on the replay, I think some of those old arrangements are on YouTube and you can look at them if you want. I think I have a Tetris arrangement. I just got a lot of arrangements from practicing that stuff when I was in high school. So while people are telling me, hey, you should have stuck to that oboe, that would have worked out a lot better for you in your future, I was practicing what I wanted to learn. I was practicing my craft. Senior year of high school, still the percussion captain in the marching band, principal percussionist in the youth orchestra percussion ensemble, and the wind ensemble at Cypress in the orchestra. So I'm principal percussionist for all that stuff. I'm also the drum set player in the jazz band, along with, I think senior year I played drum set and I was the only drum set player. Junior year, I shared the drum set seat with two other guys, if I remember correctly, Tito and Michael, my boys. Senior year of high school, I started thinking about my future. Junior year is kind of when I figured out, I think music is the thing that I want to do, but I hadn't quite gotten serious about figuring out that process yet. Senior year of high school, I decided that I was serious about wanting to do music, and so I started thinking about colleges. I actually need to rewind. I've forgotten some important details. I expected this to happen. Sophomore year or junior year, the principal percussionist of the Southwest Florida Symphony, the professional symphony in Fort Myers, began giving me private lessons. And I remember asking him for private lessons because I knew that I could not afford private lessons. I walked up to Todd Betts, the man. I walked up to Todd Betts and said, I really want to learn from you, but I can only afford lessons for $20. I did not know what I was asking for at that time. Now that I do this for a living and I, play music and I teach private lessons, I realize what a kind man Todd was to do this favor for me. He gave me lessons for $20. $20. I said, sir, I really appreciate you and the way you teach. He was the percussion coach for the youth orchestra and the youth percussion ensemble. I really appreciate the way you teach and I'm learning so much from you, but I can only afford $20 for lessons. Is there any way that we can make that work? And he said, you can only do $20? We gonna do lessons for $20. And Todd Betts changed my life. I had multiple private teachers. Ruth Chrisman was my oboe teacher. She taught me how to care about students and a lot about music. Gary Leone was my percussion teacher before Todd. He taught me a lot about the mallet instruments, and he also taught me a lot about work ethic. Todd Betts taught me the stuff. He taught me the stuff, the percussion stuff. He taught me to be disciplined in practicing. And he taught me to be particular about details. And he also taught me about phrasing and musicality. So Todd Betts was very important to me and my development. Todd Betts was my percussion teacher, and he recommended that I go to the University of South Florida for college. And so he gave me a good word to Bob, the percussion professor at the University of South Florida, and he guided me in the audition process. And then I made it into the University of South Florida, into the percussion studio. That's middle school through high school in a nutshell. What do I want you to get from this if you're a freelance musician? Well, first, people will give you advice because they care and because they are concerned. And those are good people. They're not bad people. But it is often that they have no idea what they're talking about. These folks that were telling me to get scholarships for the oboe didn't realize that I didn't want to play the oboe. And if I had gotten a scholarship for playing the oboe, I would have had to play the oboe all through college to maintain my scholarship. What I wanted to do in college was play the drums. That's what I wanted to do. That would have been totally in conflict with my goals. But they saw that money and they were concerned and they cared, and the amount of wisdom that they had dictated that they tell me to pursue the oboe. So that's the first thing, is it's important to take wise counsel into consideration. I believe that that is important, but you also have to filter and discern the wise counsel that you're getting. You can't just let everybody tell you how to live your life. And in the case of you should play the oboe so that you will get a scholarship, I was not getting wise counsel. I was getting unwise counsel from people who cared deeply about me. Second thing I want you to get from this is the words "you can't," make that your steak. If steak is your favorite food, make that your steak. I love Krispy Kreme donuts. I love them too much. I have turned "you can't" into Krispy Kreme donuts. When someone says "you can't," I take that in, I chew that up and swallow it, and it's delicious. And I say, you just wait a few minutes, or maybe a few hours, wait a few months, wait a couple years, and then come talking to me about "you can't." Some of the people who told me "you can't" now hire me to teach at their camps, hire me to write their music for them, hire me to play in their bands, and ask me to do my thing for them. That's the people that told me that "you can't." Well-meaning people that I love dearly, but they were incorrect when they said that I can't. So when someone is telling you "you can't," make that your Krispy Kreme donut, chew that up, swallow it, and eat it, and let that motivate you. And the last thing is put your head down and do your work. The two things that I mentioned before, they don't matter unless you put your head down and do your work. If you don't put your head down and do your work, people telling you that "you can't" should not become your Krispy Kreme donut. They're probably right, because doing this music thing is hard. No matter what variation of the music thing you do, by the way. If you want to audition to be a classical musician, that thing is hard. If you want to be a freelance musician and play the drums, that thing is hard. All that stuff is hard. So if you're not going to put your head down and do your work, then you should not do this, because it's very hard. If you're not going to put your head down and do your work, then ignoring people's advice is tomfoolery, because they're probably looking out for you. So don't ignore people's advice if you're not going to put your head down and do your work, because they're probably suspecting that. They're probably suspecting that you will not work hard enough to get the results that you're hoping for, because you're hoping for something that's difficult to attain. So again, while people were telling me, "Hey, you can't do this," I was finding every single opportunity I could to play percussion. I was on the drum line. I was beatboxing. That's not even actual percussion. I was beatboxing in the a cappella group. I was in the youth orchestra. I was in the youth orchestra percussion ensemble. I was in the orchestra at the high school that I was at. I was in the marching band. I even led some groups when we were doing solo and ensemble. We did some mallet ensembles, and I was leading that stuff. I did 3 to 4 solo and ensemble things every single time I had an opportunity. So I was just doing this work a lot. I was doing this work. And while people were telling me I can't, I was telling me, let's go find something else to do with music. And so because I was adding up all of those skills, my ear got really good. And because I was adding up all those skills, when the opportunity came for me to write marching percussion music for a school, I already had the skill of doing it because I had been practicing it. I already had the skill of playing the snare drum quietly because I was taking lessons in doing that. I already had the understanding of musical phrasing because I was taking lessons in doing that. I was trying to add up all of these skills. And at the time, it wasn't because I know I want to be a professional musician. It was just purely out of curiosity. But because I had these skills added up, I use these skills now. I started teaching, this is another thing, I forgot to even mention this. I started teaching private lessons when I was a junior in high school as well. So by the time private lessons became part of my income, I was pretty good at teaching private lessons. I also started teaching steel drums. So I learned how to teach a group. And so when it came time for me to start teaching a drum line, I had already been familiar with how to teach a group. So all of these skills that are making my income right now solid and reliable, I was learning them, a lot of them, when I was in high school and when I was in middle school, because I had my head down. I wasn't worried about people telling me I couldn't do it. In most cases, I didn't let them upset me or anything. I was just like, okay, you think I can do it? I'll be right back. I'm gonna go practice now. So because of that, these opportunities, when they showed up, I was prepared for them because I had my head down and I did my work. Okay, that is that is the history, middle school through high school in a nutshell. I'm sure that I forgot important things and things that could be useful. I hope that you'll have mercy on me. This is my very first time doing a Facebook Live where I'm talking. If you're on Facebook and you find this useful, I would love for you to hit a thumbs up. That would be awesome. And if you think that that's useful and you want to share it with your freelance musician friends, hit that share button. I would love that. If you're on YouTube, I would like to know if there's something else that you would like for me to cover. Leave a comment below. Next time I do this, I think I'm going to talk about college. College was a very important part of my life where I learned a lot of important stuff about myself and about how to make music. So, with that said, I think that's it for this one. It is my sincere hope that the Lord will bless you in whatever your plans are as a freelance musician. I hope that that will work out for you. It is my hope that I can be the person that tells you you can, as other people tell you that you can. God bless you. God keep you. I will see you on the next live stream. My name is Paul Gavin. I've been making my entire life living as a freelance musician for over 3 years. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.